Welcome back to the Open Polkadot Bootcamp, and to continue what we left off in the last videos about anything related to the pilot development. So today we're gonna learn an interesting API called Runtime API on Substrate that allow the other node services to communicate with the runtime, and also allow other users and other third-party services to communicate directly to the runtime to this API. Before we get to the code of the Runtime API and how to implement the Runtime API on your own, we gonna skim to this diagram first, to understand the architecture of Substrate and how the Runtime API can take responsibility. So the Substrate node consists of the outer node services and the runtime, and this separations of responsibility is an important concept for designing a Substrate-based exchange and building an upgradable logic. However, the outer node services and the runtime must communicate with each other to complete many critical operations, including reading and writing data and performing state transactions. The outer node services communicate with the runtime by calling the runtime application programming interfaces, or we can call it Runtime API, to perform specific tasks. So very simple. It's just a set of API that you define on the runtime. So the outer node services can call directly to the runtime to this API. And to implement the Runtime API of your own, you're gonna use implement Runtime APIs macro to implement all the Runtime APIs that all the runtime wishes to expose. And as you will see in the code, most of the Runtime API implementations are merely forwarding call to the runtime executive, which handle the actual logic. And given the implementation of block is somewhat large, we won't repeat it here. So you can look at the implement of the Runtime API right here. These are some standard Runtime API used in most of the Substrate code base. And here it's gonna call to the API grid, get a core and the metadata block builders. So these Runtime APIs are necessary for the Substrate blockchain to functions. And you're gonna have a few API get the metadata at the versions, also the metadata versions, get the inherent and finalize block, and also apply the extrinsics. There's a customized Runtime API from the pilot transactions. This is for charging the fee and also query the fee details from the pilot transaction API. Now we're gonna implement the Runtime API for our pilot minimal template. And as you remember, that we already implement the functionality to mint and also query the account balance in the last video about adding the custom logic to the runtime. That we have the total issuance and also the balances stored item here. That we can query the balance of the items. For the Runtime API, I want to expose this API to the node so that it can query the account balance of any account to this API. To implement the Runtime API, we're gonna use the macro called declare Runtime API in the SP API declare Runtime API in the palette. And as you can see, this API this API module is located under the palette template in the same core functionality of the template. We specify the trait and also the generic type. Then how can the runtime use that? So in the runtime lib.rs, we're gonna implement the palette minimal template, specify the module API with the template palette runtime API, and implement that for the runtime with the method query account balance. And in the query account balance, the implementation for that is I'm gonna query the storage of the minimal template using the function called balance of that I just wrote in the last tutorial. There's another configuration that we need to add to the node as well. So in the grateful method, we add these configurations for the generic type C with the C API minimal template and the API, the template palette runtime API. So now the node can expose this API. On Polkadot JS apps, in our current videos, we don't learn about this yet, but there's another videos about interacting with the Substrate blockchain later. But in here, now when you search for the template palette runtime API, you can see your runtime API display here with the method query account balance. So let's say if I want to query Alice and submit a runtime call, it's gonna show 0 because Alice doesn't have any balance. Then I'm gonna try to submit another extrinsics from Alice template mint unsafe, and mint for Alice maybe 10,000. After submitting this call and it's already finalized, we're gonna go back to the runtime call, select the template palette runtime API again, create a account balance, submit, and now you're gonna see the balance of the Alice is 10,000. And that is also like the end of the section about the Runtime API.